Sup gamers, so it looks like Hamaguchi recently sat down with Automaton. He was talking about Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 3 with them. They were talking about how the next and final entry in the Final Fantasy VII Remake trilogy is heading to more platforms. And they addressed, what a lot of fans were worried about. And that is, will the graphics take a hit to accommodate for, weaker hardware? And Hamaguchi basically said the team won't compromise on visuals whatsoever. And he went on to explain why in this interview. And he said that the concern is pretty understandable. When a game targets hardware with different specs, sometimes the whole project gets designed around the lower ceiling. And with the series going multi-platform, including systems with tighter limits, some fans assumed the maximum visual bar might drop. So Hamaguchi basically responded, going multi-platform will not in any way lower the quality of the third game. Then he also went on to break down how cross-platform development works. He broke it down into 4 key constraints, which are CPU, GPU, RAM, and storage media. He noted that limited memory is a big reason some ports can be difficult, whereas storage constraints used to matter much more back in the physical media era. But the key part of the interview was that they don't start by aiming at the weakest platform. The team creates 3D assets at the highest quality level first, and then they tune and scale per platform. That way, a constraint on one version does not automatically become everyone's limit. And then he goes on and on and on about some more technical aspects of porting games. He also describes a philosophy of leaving headroom, meaning if a lower spec platform targets 30 FPS, they avoid designing the whole game to fully saturate high-end hardware at 30 FPS. And then he also said that there's a dedicated internal unit that's handling ports separately, and he oversees it from a distance, so that kind of gives him a lot of room to solely focus on Part 3 and its core parts. And finally, he says that the game is already playable and they're in a refined and final push phase. So really, nothing new. He's just given us the same old story, he's given us numerous times before. That plus some extra technical details. He didn't say if Part 3 is going to be available on all platforms day one, so that still remains a mystery. So it looks like we're going to have to wait a bit longer for any updates from them, but I don't think we're too far away. With Final Fantasy VII Rebirth scheduled for release on the Nintendo Switch 2 on June 3rd, 2026, and Summer Game Fest taking place on June 5th, 2026, I think the release of Final Fantasy VII Rebirth on the Switch 2 is going to be the starting point for the whole marketing cycle, and we'll likely get a lot of updates during Summer Game Fest. Well, that's at least what I'm hoping for, but this was just a quick video for you guys to update you on the current state of affairs. Do let me know your thoughts down in the comments section, like and sub, and I shall see you in the next one. Cheers!